Professional education. The details to enter here are easier if you have gathered all the 35 contact hours from one single source. So, but if you have these contact hours from multiple sources, let's say 20 hours from one institute, 10 hours from other, and let's say 5 hours from the PMI chapters, how would you enter them? So after you enter the hours from one of the institutes, it will show you an option in the bottom left corner to add another institute. So in this case, the total contact hours are met here. You can see in the top right corner. But if they are not met, you will be getting that prompt to add more professional education. So once you have filled it, you'll get a screen something like this. And again, guys, as I keep on repeating, do not fake the dates or enter the future dates here without completing the 35 hours. It's quite risky in case of audit. You may be banned from the, taking the exam further. And then we continue to the next topic, experience. Why will PMI ask us to produce this experience? So any reputed organization would not allow an inexperienced professional who just had a bookish knowledge about what management is. The world-renowned organizations are respecting the PMP certification because this exam does not certify you if you just know some fancy terms in the management, but you must have a rich prior experience in handling the real life problems. So PMI is ensuring that you have a proper experience before you are PMP certified. So PMP certification has this credibility for this exact same reason. So with that said, let's quickly jump into the details here. You will enter the project titles and the organization details, the job title. Something to say here as well, as I mentioned earlier, even if you are not a project leader or a program manager, do not worry to mention it about it here. Just mention if you are a senior engineer, if you are a junior engineer, if you are a doctor, an IT professional, whatever your designation is, mention it directly as it is that is mentioned in your experience letter, right? So if it is mentioned differently in the experience letter and if you are audited, it might be a problem. So it's better to mention whatever is written in your experience letter here. The functional reporting area and the organization focus, I think, is self-explanatory. The approach or methodology. So this is where many people get confused. What should I enter as a project management methodology in my previous experience, right? So if you are sure whether the previous organization has followed agile method or traditional method or hybrid method, just enter it. If you are not sure, it is very much advisable to just call back to that colleague from your previous company and get this information and then enter it. So as I mentioned before, the project method is also quite important in this application. The project team size, project budget, they do not matter even if your team size is 1 or 2 or 3, or if your project budget is less than 1 million, it does not matter. Just try to be as honest as possible with your answers here. Do not select a higher value fearing not getting the application being accepted. It actually doesn't really matter. And one of the most important points to note here is that the project dates. So the ones that are highlighted in yellow here, total of 0 of 36 months and the project dates. What happens is that in organizations where multiple projects are running at the same time, the people are involved in more than one project. So the chances are that you might be involved in 2 projects or 3 projects within the same company at the same time. And an overlapping time frame happens, right? So in project 1, project 2, you have spent like 1 year each, and during the same time period. You cannot show this as 2 years experience. So let's understand this in depth in the next slide. As you can see here, there is an Excel sheet prepared with an example profile. You can see that the candidate has worked in 3 different departments. Please shift your focus to the Excel sheet in the bottom. That's here. So you can see the candidate has worked in 3 different departments in the same company or organization A, B, C, and he has handled 3 different projects. And the data mentioned here is, I keep repeating it again, that it is quite random. This is not a real data. It's only for, bettering your understanding. So in the column I and J, here in column I and J, you can see that there is an overlap of the projects, right? So the project 2 is extended until June 2021, while the project 1 started in May 2021. So the 2 months of overlap cannot be counted as 2 months in project 1 and 2 months in project 2, total 4 months. No, it's not possible. It's possible that only 2 months in total are considered. So similarly for project 2 and 3 here, we can see that there is an overlap of 2 more months here as well. So if you enter these experiences and count the hours separately, you'll get roughly 40 months. But the PMI is going to consider this as 36 months only. So why it's important? In this example case study, we are qualifying for the 36 months or 3 years of experience, right? It's quite fine here. But consider a case where project 3 has started in February instead of January. So in this case, what happens? The total months in the project 3 will become 12 instead of 13. So due to this overlap, then the overall experience is going to count only as 35 months and not 36 months. And you will not be able to apply for this PMP certification. So this overlap is very, very important. Please gather the data before starting the application, understand whether you have this total experience, and then go ahead for the application. And as you see here, it's better to populate the information in an Excel format to verify these points. Just a simple calculation that the Excel gives us, and you'll understand whether the overlapping hours are considered or not considered and what the actual experience is. Okay, moving on. Finally comes the toughest part of the application, the project description. The PMP application asks us to summarize each of our projects in 200 to 500 words. So I recommend you all to first type this in a Word document and then transfer it to the project description field in the application. The PMI has clearly provided us with the guidelines or hints about this summary, like what it should look like. The image you see here, it's from the application itself, where you can find the keywords that are underlined: project objective, outcome, the role, responsibilities, the deliverables, and the number of words. So all these things are listed here. So we have to write our description in this flow only. So any project that you have worked on has to be described in this particular flow. So first, we need to mention the objectives of the project, what the outcome was in that project, what was our role in the project, what were our responsibilities in the project, and finally, what were our deliverables in the project. And we need to give the complete description within 200 to 500 words. The project objective. For the purpose of explaining, I have formulated this example project description, and I keep repeating this. This example is only to better your understanding on what to write, right? So please do not replicate whatever that is mentioned here in your application. You may follow the flow that is provided in the left, but the image provided here with elaboration is a pure work of fiction, and it does not represent any real profile. So what do we have here? The project objective is explained, for an example, network security system establishment project. So the imagined objective here was to create this network security system to deal with the data breaches. So you may relate this to your own work while you enter these statements.